Hello everybody, and welcome back to another Kings of War Battle Report. I'm Visibly Riley, and this week we have Goblins versus Salamanders in a 2300 point battle of Salt the Earth. So first off, before I get into my opponent's army, I would like to say I apologize for some of the fuzzy recollections and some of the weird moves you're going to see in this game. It's mostly due to my opponent was babysitting at the same time. They're kids. I think their eldest is like 6 or 7. And their youngest is 4. And the 4-year-old decided to just scream for 3 hours, and if they weren't screaming, they were slamming Legos into something, and if it wasn't for that, they were slamming a laptop into the ground. So it was just really noisy, really hard for me to concentrate, but I did learn one important thing, which is, this is great contraceptive. Which, joking aside, yeah, I know they're super stir-crazy right now, so I wasn't bothered by it, but it did mess with my ability to really pay attention to the game too closely. So anyway, if things seem a little off, that's why. So we're going to open with a Horde of Ceremonial Guard with the Brew of Strength and Effigy of Fire. Then we have 2 hordes of Tyrants, one of whom has the J-Boots, the other has the Potion of the Caterpillar, and then they both have Effigies of Fire. Then we have 2 regiments of Rhinosaur Cav, a regiment of Ancients with the Chant of Hate and Effigy of Fire, then an Ancient Troop, a Phoenix, 2 Lichilodons, a Clan Lord on Fire Drake with the Brew of Sharpness, and finally our Tockle. My thoughts on this army are as follows. It is very elite. Again, my opponent really likes these 12 drop lists at 2300 points. That's a little low for me. I'm not really comfortable with 12, but I do like, if you're gonna do it, Salamanders is a great army to do it in. They're just really powerful in version 3. They've got some really good stuff going for them. Not the least of which being the Tyrants. I know there was a recent thread on the one of the Facebook groups for Kings of War asking if Tyrant Hordes are worth running, and the short answer is yes. The long answer is hell yes. Tyrant Hordes are amazing. I think I would always start with 2 Tyrant Hordes or in every list, and Tyrant Regiments are also good. I shouldn't just say Hordes, but I always run them in Hordes. So if I were to write my Salamanders, it would always open with 2 of these. So, and probably with the J-Boots and the Potion of the Caterpillar. I think those are perfect items for him. So anyway, the only thing in this army that I don't really vibe with is the Ancient Regiment. I don't think they're worth running in regiments. They're good in it, don't get me wrong, right? Like, the Ancient Regiment is a fine pick, but the Ancient Troop is just so efficient that I just much prefer it. And then you get to save a few points and throw them wherever, and since they don't unlock anyway, it doesn't matter. So anyway, I really like this army. Poor Artacle. It's just so powerful that making the Firebrand not even worth running. Yeah. Anyway, I really like this army. If you're looking to start an elite Salamanders force, this is what I would look for in a very competent list. Moving on, speaking of competent, we have the Goblins. First off, we have 4 Horde of Rabble. They do not have the Healing Brew. That is a mismark. Then I have 2 regiments of Luggett Gang. One of the Healing Brew is on them. Then I have 2 troops of Fleabag Riders, a Wingit with the Goblin Spotter, 2 Mincers, Cuzlo and Madfall, 2 Big Rocks Throwers, 2 Mop-Up Launchers, Magwan Juice, 2 Whizzes, both of whom have Banechant 2, and then one has the Conjurer Staff and the other has the Inspiring Talisman, a Flaggit with the Loot of Insatiable Darkness, and finally a Stingit with the Wings of Honeymaze. My thoughts on this army are, I created it with the intention of getting a combined arms force, and not just combined arms in the way of like I have some melee and then I have some shooting, right? This was, I want to combine some other elements, right? So like I have the Fleabag Riders, I have Cuzlo and Madfall, which again, this is a completely slept on special character, insanely powerful. And then the Stingit, these are all disruption pieces, and then they combo with stuff like the Mop-Up Launchers, because I can fire a Mop-Up onto Fleabag Riders, and now they can actually handle most chaff in the game. They'll win, in my opinion, they'll win the chaff fight, and on top of it, like even if you take your flyer and put it into the woods, and even if you have Ensnare, you have all these things, Mop-Ups don't care about special rules. They hit on 4s, period. So you can just put them on the Fleabag Riders, hit them with a pop, and then get into combat, right? So I really like them for that. They got that combo. The Stingit, not really a combo piece, but then Cuzlo and Madfall, Ravenous Lizard actually stacks with all other negative effects in the game, so Dread, Shatter, Brutal, all those things stack with it. Generally, I like to get a Bang It into the list because it stacks with that Shatter, but it also stacks with Brutal. So even when I'm not disrupting with Cuzzle and Madval, for, like turns 1 through 3, I disrupt, and 4 through 6, if I need Cuzzlo to be more in the center of the table, well, it's going to stack with the amount of Brutal I have in the list, because I have 2 Luggets and I have 2 Mincers. So that's sort of the idea here, is that everything combos with each other, and then I have the standard combat and the Luggets again with the mop-up backup. Magwan Juice is it's a very, very powerful combatant, actually. On top of the fact that I have Lightning Bolt 10 and 2 Big Rocks throwers, plus the Wing It with the Goblin Spotter, and then I have the Rabble Horde just to sort of hold the center. So they're my tar pit. So that's really, it's a combined arms force, but I'm trying to combine disruption with damage elements instead of just going with damage elements. So anyway, that's the idea. Let's see how it works out. But first, let's talk about Salt the Earth. So Salt the Earth is a scenario where you place one objective marker in the direct center of the table, and then each player takes turns placing 3 objective markers onto the table. You roll off to see who places the first one, obviously. And during the game itself, after a player has completed their turn, they can choose to destroy any objective marker that they control, except for the central objective marker. You control objective markers, again, by being within 3 inches of it with the highest unit strength, so between 1 and infinity. You repeat this forever until the end of the game. At the end of the game, you score 1 victory point for every objective marker that still exists that you control. So you can always get that center one, but the rest of them you can burn, or your opponent can burn at any point during the game. So it's pretty interesting. I would say this is closer to what I mean when I talk about dynamic scenarios. It still scores at the end of the game, which I still think is a little off, but at least this one doesn't run into the problem of it doesn't, you roll up the 4+ for turn 7 and you go, well, one player loses automatically, the other one wins automatically, or turn 6, it doesn't matter which one. This one is a bit more control because you get to do stuff during the game with the objectives. You get to interact with the scenario as opposed to basically ignoring it and moving around the table. So I like Salt the Earth. I think it's better than something like Push or Invade. So anyway, moving on to the scenario or the objective markers on the table. So here's all 7. My opponent actually placed down these 3, or I'm sorry, this is the center one, but placed down these 2 first and was obviously going for one of these refuse flank moves because, again, there's only 12 drops. I, being a dummy, and, well, being yelled at by a toddler incessantly, I wasn't really paying attention to what my opponent's list was, right? Like, I just sort of put out my models and stared at them. So I didn't, look at the list or look at the fact that there's only 12 things, that this is such a small army that they were going to end up being trapped. So I should have spread mine out a little bit more. I put down this one and this one and this one, while my opponent put down this, this, and this. So I wanted to spread wide, but this one is also spread a bit wide. I'm not exactly sure on that one. So anyway, that's that. Now for the table itself, let's talk about the firing lanes. There aren't too many of them, right? So I have these 2 central ones, and then I have some side areas, but those are kind of ignored. I use a lot of impassable terrain to block it off, or to make it a bit more difficult, so you can't set up your units, but you might be able to see over them, because our impassables aren't terribly tall. In the future, I'll probably, I just made the impassable a very set height for this game to make it easier. Again, I cannot mention enough how much screaming there was. So anything to make it simpler was better. So anyway, we've got that going out, and it was excited screaming. It wasn't like, pouting or anything like that. So anyway, let's go into what the terrain is. So first off, we have a height 9 forest in the center of the table. There are trees for this. They just weren't on it just yet. Then there are 2 height 0 difficult pieces. We have the 2 hills, Hank and Bobby. Hopefully I'll get to work on these this week. Anyway, then we have several height 2 obstacles scattered across the table. And finally, we have 3 height 7 impassable pieces. One of the things I really like about Kings of War for impassable pieces is if I were playing War Machine or Warhammer, or I would not play 40k, that game sucks. But anyway, if I were playing one of those, I would look at these and go like, these should be on a base. because it just makes it a lot cleaner in those systems, because, you know, you don't want to land on them, or can I climb this, or whatever you want to do with. Well, in Kings of War, you can't climb any of the impassable, but at the same time, you can rotate through it, provided you're not charging. So it's a half measure between that, you know, I don't get to do anything because this is a weird, you know, has weird jutting pieces of difficult terrain or impassable terrain, versus, well, can I get up on it? Because obviously it's meant to be climbed. So anyway, I like that about it, and I thought I'd mention it. So with that said, the roll-off, my opponent wins the roll-off for table side, chooses this side, obviously because there's a big hill in the deployment zone. And then also we're going to start on this side of the deployment. So starting with, as I would see it, their left flank. So first off, in front, we have the Rhinosaur Cav Regiment, followed by the Tyrant Horde with the Caterpillar Potion and Effigy. To the right of that, we have the Ancient Regiment with the Chant of Hate and Effigy. Then we have a Phoenix with Artacle cowering behind it. A quick mention on that, if I go back a picture and look at this table, that's up on this hill, right? And what ended up happening was I won the roll-off for Scout, because we both have one Scout, and it's not consistent in, I'm not sure in Kings of War, but it's not inconsistent in a lot of games to have, if you win the roll, do you just automatically deploy first, or do you get to choose? In my opinion, Kings of War, literally all of it should just be choose. Really standardize it and choose that one, please. So anyway, we ended up playing it wrong, and I won the roll-off, or I rolled higher, which meant that I scouted first, and because of that, Artacle got to react to me. In reality, I would have preferred, obviously, Artacle to go first, and then I get to react to her. So anyway, Artacle reacts to me and hides behind a Phoenix, which is fair, because the Stingit is pretty dangerous. Or Artacle is significantly more dangerous, but I'm cheaper. So anyway, to the right of that, we have the Ceremonial Guard Horde with the Brew of Strength and Effigy. To the right of that, we have both the Lakildons and the Ancient Troop. And finally, to the right of all that, we have the final Rhinosaur Cav Regiment, the final Tyrant Horde with J-Boots and Effigy, and the Clan Lord on Firedrake with Brew of Sharpness. Now, a few things. Yes, this army is very pretty. I really like it. My opponent has been playing Lizardman the entire time I've known him, which is 16 years. So this is a long in the making army. Now, a few things. A lot of people ask me about these tyrants. They're like, oh, those models are so cool. Where can I get them? The answer is you can't. These models were made by someone on the Lustria online forums a long time ago, really I believe at the beginning of 8th edition Warhammer, and they basically did a limited run where you would ask them to resin print them for you, they would do it, you would get them, and that person has since moved completely on. It was never a commercially available model. It's not an STL anywhere that you can download as far as I know, and sorry, if you want them, you're kind of out of luck. This one, on the other hand, is, I believe, Forgotten Kingdoms, so if you like that, go for that. Anyway, starting with the goblins. Now again, because of the screaming, actually this is not because of the screaming, it's because we have a table butted up here. I actually started on the opposite side when I started photographing, so this is my left flank, so not opposite this. Starting here, we have Cuzlo and Madfall right behind my first troop of Fleabag Riders. To the left of that, we have the Rabble Horde. To the left of that, we have my Wiz with Banechant 2 in Inspiring Talisman. And a quick bit of trivia, these are the first Warhammer models I ever painted. So all the goblins you see painted here are the first ones I ever did. Aw. And I actually, I have these goblins right here. The old Night Goblin ones from sometime in the 90s. These were, I believe, the first plastic kit that Games Workshop made for Warhammer. So anyway, these guys, I have about 800 of them painted somewhere. So anyway, moving off to the left, we have the second Rabble Horde. Behind it, we have the Wingit with the Goblin Spotter. To the left of that, we have both the Luggett regiments. The one with some painted models is the one with the Healing Brew. Behind them, this big troll is Magua and Juice. There's actually a goblin that goes onto his back, so I might actually use this. In fact, it might even be the Stingit's goblin. But anyway, there is a goblin that goes back there. Behind the Luggett regiment, we have the Wiz with Banechant 2 and Conjurer's Staff. And then up here in the front, we have the Stingit. As I mentioned before, I ended up scouting first, which meant that I placed my leader point into the woods, so Artacle would have a difficult time, but then they just ran and hid. So I would have preferred to be directly behind it, but maybe I would have done this anyway. Who knows? Then I have the third Rabble Horde right here. Behind that, we have the Flaget with the Loot of Insatiable Darkness. And finally in the back there, on the wooden bases, we have the Big Rocks Throwers. On the black bases, we have the Mop-Up Launchers. Now, a bit of a model quandary for you all, which is I really enjoy the Mantic mop-up launchers. They are a pretty fine model, and I might get them if I want to pursue this army. But the Big Rocks Throwers do not do it for me. And if one of my many rants in the past has been how much I hate the old Goblin models. They are so bad that I just gave a mega army away. I was like, I can't do anything with this. So I'm not a fan of them. They're real fiddly. I don't like the style, and I think they're sculpted poorly. But I do really enjoy, some obviously the new Mantic Goblins I think are quite beautiful, and I can't wait to get them in my hands. But I'm not exactly sure what to do about the Big Rock Throwers. So if you guys have some ideas of how to do this with Mantic parts, feel free to leave a comment below. And finally, off to the left of that, we have the final Rabble Horde. We have both my mincers, one's a giant blimp, I guess, and then the final Fleabag Rider troop. And that's it for deployment, so let's get into turn 1. So the roll-off is won again by the Salamanders. Can't win any of these rolls, can I? Well, I guess I won that scout one, but anyway. We have the left flank just moving forward. Now, there is something interesting about this army, which is, well, there's a lot of things, but one of the interesting things about this army is the variable speeds of it. So we have a speed 10 piece here, we have a speed 4 piece here, 7, and then 6 with wild charge D3. Now, it's fun as I bet it's fun as a micromanage, right? So, like, you get to sit there and go, like, okay, so this is 14, and then this is 6 plus D3, or 12 plus D3 for threat range, then this is 8, and then this is 20, right? Or 22 if you count the fireball, and then our toggles back here, and so on and so forth. So it looks like it's pretty fun to move around these battle groups at least. Then off here to the right is a more standard line. We have the Ceremonial Guard just pushing forward. That's what they do. One Lochilodon pushes with them. The other one stays behind. I believe it's to hide behind a piece of impassable from my artillery, just to get some of that line of sight nonsense going on. Same thing with the Ancient Troop. They don't want to get blasted off the table turn 1. That's fair. Then we have the Tyrant Horde backing up behind the Rhinosaur Cav and this Clan Lord on Fire Drake. It pivots, as you can see, just so it can block my Fleabag Rider troop over there from being able to land. It's impossible for me to land and not clip the side of the table or go over the Rhinosaur, so it's an impossible charge. So that's the idea, and let's see how the shooting goes. So we have only the Phoenix to shoot. It is Fireball 10. It's going to fire into my Stingit, so it's going to be 5s and 3s, and does 4 wounds, which is pretty nuts. It actually hit me 5 times, and it only failed one of those wounds. I was like, oh no. But thankfully, my opponent flubs the nerve roll, so my Stingit is not even wavered, so I'm free to do what I want. So anyway, here is the end of turn shot. You can see it's sort of a battle line moving forward. There is one thing I think about my opponent's movement here, which is I probably would have actually kept this unit back 2 inches, because I don't know. I look at Salt the Earth, and I think it's one of those scenarios, especially because there's 3 objectives on their side of the table, where you don't really need to push the center, especially not with 12 total units in your army, period. And I'm running goblins. So I don't think you need to push this far, or push that far forward. I think holding back 2 inches to keep this line more exact gives you a bit more play with this wood. But anyway, that's what she said, and let's move on to Goblin turn 1. So Goblin turn 1 looks about how you might expect, which is we just advance forward. So yeah, the Goblins, because of the terrain layouts, because of all the walls and the difficult terrain, I can't really run with many of my units, so instead I decide to keep at that like sort of speed 5 pace, right? Also, I don't want to walk into any of these units' charge ranges because they will obliterate me in one go, right? Like, the Ceremonial Guard probably, do they one-shot me? They do like 12 damage. They definitely get a waiver at least, so that's not great. So anyway, they probably don't one-shot me though. Yeah, so I move my army forward. The only things of note here are I put both the mincers more than 50% onto this hill, so they'll get +1 TC charging down, because they're only crush 1, TC 1. So I need to get +1 to deal with these Rhinosaurs. I'm also out of the Rhinosaurs' charge range, so they can move forward, but And then the Clan Lord can charge me. I don't really care about that. And then off here on the left, I do take Cuzlo. I go on a deep flank because none of these units can charge me. There's no surging, so I don't have to worry about it. And what are they going to do? Fireball me? Please don't fireball me. So anyway, I move over there, and then I keep my Fleabag Riders in reserve behind them because they can charge 20, and there's just no reason to get them in fireball range. The other Fleabag Riders actually do another nice piece of valor here and run behind my mincers, so their corner is impossible for the Clan Lord to charge because I don't want them killing this, being behind my lines. All that's bad, and I don't really care about the mincers dying, or one of the mincers dying, I should say. So anyway, that's that. I do take my Wingit, which was originally on the left flank, and I just fly it all the way over here. I'm not going to use its grenades just yet because of the aforementioned just 5-inch advance. So instead, I might as well run 20 and spot because spot's a very balanced ability. So I'm going to throw out a spot here, and let's go into shooting. So shooting turn 1, I fire both of my big rocks at the Rhinosaur cab that I marked, and then I fire my Mop-Ups at my Luggets to try to get a Mop-Up on each. So the results are, I do get one of the Mop-Ups, so I roll a 4 there, but yeah, that 2 wounds is from a Lightning Bolt, by the way. So that was kind of funny, but all my rocks I rolled 1s for. So I rolled a 4, and then, what is that, 6 1s? Yep, 6 1s. So an unfortunate start, and keep in mind that these are elite and it ended in 1, so really 10 1s. So anyway, a bit funny at least. So this is the end of the turn. I don't do anything else. Cuzlo couldn't cast any magic. All the rest of the Lightning Bolt didn't do anything. That's actually just one Wiz's Lightning Bolt too. The rest of these are like, what is Lightning Bolt and how does it work? So anyway, we will move into turn 2. Oh, there is one more thing. He's so sneaky. I did take my Stingit, which was right here in the woods. I have an easy flank onto the Lachilodon, and I take it because I want to shut down a bit of the shooting right now. And honestly, I need to be able to kill this off. Lachilodons aren't that good in combat. I believe they hit on 5s. So I might be able to weather that storm, and in 2 turns, I could kill a Lachilodon, or at least waver it, which is what I'm going for here. But that 4 wounds from that Phoenix turn 1, that's gonna suck later, I think at least. So anyway, let's move into turn 2. So turn 2 for the Salamanders. On the left flank, you can see they're sort of huddling up, protecting their weak flanks from me, which is fair. They only have 12 units, so got to protect it. We have our Artacle finally coming out to play. I believe they're going to shoot at some Luggets. Honestly, the more I look at this, I think that Artacle was in range to get over to Cuzlo along with the Phoenix, and that might have been the move. But my opponent as well was, dealing with a bit of a scream match, and being that they are their father, I think they had to pay a bit more attention than I did. So anyway, they're just protecting all the flanks right now, and then turning to face towards Cuzlo and my Fleabag Riders to make sure that neither of them have a flank. Off here on the right flank, you can see, not a whole lot of movement forward. I'm not sure really what they're worried about. Like, my opponent was very deliberate keeping this rabble out of charge range of this ceremonial guard. But what am I going to do? Double charge with rabble, have both of them hindered, and be like, aha, I have 50 attacks on 6s and 5s. Good luck, friend. So I'm not exactly sure about that one, but that's what's happening over here. And then all of these units are just getting ready to pounce. Well, not really the Ancients. They're only speed 4, but the rest of them are good and ready. And we have 1 countercharge from this Lachilodon into my Stingit. So that's going to be that. Let's move into shooting. So in the shooting phase, we have Artacle taking aim at my Luggets, and with 7 shots on 3s and 3s, I believe, manages 5 wounds, which again is insane. So far, my shooting a little low. Some would say that rolling all 1s isn't great, but my opponent is pretty insane. Has 5 wounds on my Luggets. But it's not so crazy that I'd be like, oh man, these dice. But yeah, that's a lot of early damage, and damage snowballs, right? It's sort of like money. The more you save now, it's worth so much more later. So anyway, getting damage in the early game is better than damage in the late game. So anyway, in the rest of shooting, we have this guy firing into one of my hordes of rabble, doing 1 damage. And here we go with the combat. So my opponent's Lachilodon only manages 1 wound, and I'm like, oh, I could still die. My nerve is not that high. But rolls a double 1, and I am ready to go. So screw you, we'll kill it on. I'm going to get you in my next turn. I should say as well, my Stingit hit with 3 attacks during my turn. You might see the 2 wounds here. I did roll 3 ones to wound, but thankfully I have Vicious, so save me, Vicious. Please, deliver me. So here is the end of turn 2 for the Salamanders. You can see there's not a whole lot of movement, but they don't really, I think, want to just yet. Again, the 12 drops is really holding them back from being able to engage with me just yet. Thankfully, my Luggets weren't killed with a lucky 10, so I'll take that. And we move into Goblin turn 2. So Goblin turn 2, I just, throw a caution to the wind and charge. Now, part of this is because I don't know how to play the army just yet. I haven't played that many games of Goblins in version 3, and the other part being that I just wrote this army. So when I write an army, I like to stress test its damage first to see what sort of damage I can build into my muscle memory, right? So it's a fancy way of saying I charge a lot with armies in the beginning. So anyway, on the left, you can see I take Cuzlo and Madfall, so I just run around the side of the table here. My plan is to enthrall the tyrants into this barrier, and my understanding is that they touch this piece of terrain and stop, but that does mean that they are touching it, meaning if they try to charge, they will be hindered because they're not Strider. Then we have my Wolf Riders here, or not Wolf Riders, Fleabag Riders, just coming around the flank. They don't need to do too much right now. They're just trying to threaten some of these units back here because they are nimble as well, so they can pivot past this piece of impassable, pivot up, and go around if they try to fly back here. So that's the plan. I walk this unit. I did want to walk out of the train. You might notice I'm in it. That is because I wasn't fast enough, but I am fast enough to do the thing that I wanted to do, which is be within 3 inches of both these tokens, because I'm going to burn one at the end of my turn, just because I don't want this over here. My plan is to get rid of that and then start burning my opponent's tokens with my superior unit strength, hopefully. But I'll have to get past this ceremonial guard first. So speaking of that side, actually, let's talk about this first, which is I do send the Luggets with the 5 wounds on them, unfortunately, but also with the Mop-Up into combat with the Ancient Regiment along with Magua and Juice. The plan here, first off, I pop my healing pot. I failed a 50-50, so I'm down to 4 wounds, but it's better than 5. And then my plan is to slap Banechant onto them and then also slap Banechant onto Magua and Juice. So I have 20 attacks on 4s and 4s and then 7 attacks on 3s and 3s. So on top of the 6 attacks on 4s and 5s. So that is going to be my plan. I'm just trying to walk through these in one round. It would have been really cool if I could have managed to get Cuzlo and Madfall over there. But at least I've got the Brutal going on. So I've got that. I do change the positioning of this goblin a little bit after this, which is I wanted it poking out because it's more important that the Luggets get Banechant. So if this fails, I have a backup. So anyway, that's not the final position is what I'm saying. Off here on the right, I do back up I take these Luggets and I back up my unit of Rabble that charged. I could have charged with these Luggets in, but I would have been hindered, and then I'm just supporting Rabble. These guys walk right through my Luggets in one go, so no reason to throw them away just yet. I can throw away Rabble. I should have probably spent a bit more time thinking about shooting this unit and just running Rabble an inch away, because I'm not going to really do any damage in combat, at least I don't think I am, and I do have a fair bit of shooting set up, but my opponent, because again, I don't know how many times I'm going to say this, only has 12 drops. So killing any unit is a big boon. So I'm going to be going for killing off this Rhinosaur Regiment again. This time I have grenades to throw as well. So might not look like it, but it's exactly 12. So my plan is to throw 3 grenades and then fire off with 2 big rocks and then maybe even the mop-ups, because I only need one of my mop-ups to go off right in reality. I don't really need any of them to go off. I don't need them this turn because the only combat that I want them on is already here. So that is going to be my plan, just to fire everything into this and see what I can pull off. I do run this unit of Fleabag Riders. Unfortunately, they're not going to be able to get any charge disruption this game, so instead I just run them in front, but they are blocking quite a few units here. Pretty much all of this, except for the flyer, from being able to do anything. Now, I would have loved to ground this flyer, but that's not going to happen. So anyway, that is all of that, as they say, and let's go into shooting to see how it goes. So first off, actually, let's go into combat, I guess, which is my Lugged and Magwan Juice do manage to one round the Ancients. I don't roll particularly well in combat, but I do roll spectacularly on my Nerve, and by that I mean I roll 2 7s and kill them. So yeah, they're out of there, or 2 8s, something like that. So I kill them off, which feels great. I do manage to, and here is the end of turn shot, I manage 3 wounds onto this regiment, which also is really good. This is just, random rabble. So I need 1 damage to make this plan work, which is these guys are Crush 1, Thunder 2. So 1 damage strips them of the Thunder, and then if this unit wants to charge in as well, because I do get the Enthrall to pull them into that barrier, this is going to be 30 attacks on 5s, and then I think they're 9 attacks on 3s and then 3s. So I'm not sure they can actually go through Rabble in 1 round, especially now that the Ancients are gone. So I do turn my Legates like so. Again, they have 4 damage on them, so I'm not sure if they'll survive this amount of shooting. But if they do, they're a big threat right now to the side of the table. The other side of the table is a more worrisome, though, which is I do mark this unit. I fire all my grenades. All the grenades miss. I fire off all my big rocks. The big rocks miss. And then I fire one of the mob pups over there. It misses, and I go, the second mob pop is not worth it, and I fire it into the Luggets just to power them up right now, because this is a fearless unit as well. So I think it's a dash 15. So yeah, just some bad rolls on the shooting so far, and then in combat, things are okay. I do manage a couple wounds here. I do manage 2 more wounds here. I think they are an 11, 13, so I need a 7, and I fail it, which is unfortunate, but, that's the way it goes sometimes. So let's move into turn 3. So turn 3 for the Goblins. First off, on the left flank here, you can see all the counter charges, which is, or charges and counter charges, which is just these 2 units going into my rabble, while the Phoenix and our Tackle get ready to try to get rid of these Luggets real quick, while also dodging line of sight on quite a few of my units, or range. So like they're dodging range for this, dodging range for Cuzlo, and then trying to drag Magwan Juice into the woods if I want to go after our Tackle. I believe my opponent did not realize that Magua is a duelist, so even more of a wise plan to make it so I'm going to end up hindered on that charge. So anyway, let's see what's happening on the right. It's a bit of a mess, honestly. Now, there's probably a way, I did look at this while I was moving, where I could have moved this unit forward to protect their flank. I can definitely do that. My problem with it was that then I just exposed their flank, and this unit probably one-rounds me, or has the potential to pretty easily, and then at least wavers me. And then this unit is just gone if the Clan Lord charges in the flank. That's 30 attacks on 3s and 2s. That's a pop. So my plan was instead to just go, well, these guys die, which allows my Legates to do what they're going to do, and then I'll just hold up here. But I think there's probably a way that I could have done it with the Fleabag Riders to protect both flanks, and then maybe taken the Ancients to the front, because who cares if the Ancients charge me? So anyway, that probably would have been smarter. I didn't do it. So instead, we have this, which is the Lachilodon here is charging into me. The other Lachilodon is charging into my Stingit. I'm pretty okay with this. Lachilodon's charging instead of shooting. That's good stuff. The flank onto my Fleabag Riders doesn't matter. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Front or flank, they're dead, because these guys would just join in anyway. And the Ancients just sit here. They could have charged me. I'm not sure why they're not. I guess, no, there's just no reason not to, because I can't countercharge this unit. Maybe my Wingit could rear charge them. Yeah, that's 9 attacks on 5s and 6s. Sounds good. So anyway, that's how the right is looking. This is going to be a decisive turn. If any of these goblins, or if these goblins hold, that is enormous. If these goblins hold, that's huge, because then I just have to send 1 Mincer in, right? And I can kill them off. So we'll see about it. We'll see what happens. Let's go into shooting first. So our Tackle and the Phoenix take aim and only manage 3 wounds. So really coming back from that high of turn 1 and turn 2 shooting, they only do 3 total, which means it's a 7 twice to kill me. It's a little under 25%. But let's see in combat first for some reason. So these goblins get absolutely slaughtered. By the way, we did roll the Ceremonial Guard, and they did enough to get them to double 1 down. So it didn't really matter that this guy charged him in the flank. You might be wondering, well, why is this facing this way? It's because these guys can't actually charge it. I can hit the corner when I back up, but I can't actually fit, and because this is my point of contact, I can't be touching that when I pick up in place, so it's an impossible charge. So they are safe right there, and also blocking this unit. And then, obviously you want Luggets in the front if you're going to take Luggets. And right here, yeah, the Lakilodon here, again, really fantastic rolling here. Manages 3 wounds onto my Rabble. Doesn't really matter, but, they get it done. And over here, yeah, they do, they don't do nothing. They do a wound dial here, but I think it's like 8 wounds, and they don't manage the 11 to waver me, so pretty good for me, that is. But I wasn't expecting this unit to break anyway. And here is the end of turn shot, which is, yeah, these Luggets with the shooting, my opponent does roll the 7 twice, and it's really unfortunate because they literally roll a 7 twice. So if my healing pod had 50-50, if I had passed that 50-50, I would still be here and ready to just wreck this unit real quick. But, it's not how it worked, so instead they're gone. This unit's gone. The dogs are gone, obviously. And my Stingit is also unfortunately gone because this Lakilodon wounds me 4 times. Just walks right through him, so I'm like it didn't matter if I took all that fireball damage because apparently Lakilodons are the combat monsters, no one expected. So anyway, with that, we go into Goblin turn 3. Let's see what we got. So Goblin turn 3, on the left here, I am winning this side, so I feel a little bad about burning this token now, because this side is such a mess. But yeah, I'm winning this side. I've got this guy going into the Rhinosaurs. They've got 3 or 4 damage on them. With a Bane Chant, I might be able to pop them, but I'm not counting on it. And then I walk these dogs into the Tyrants because the Tyrants are in the flank of these, and with the dogs here, the flea bags, it's an impossible charge. I'm also lowering their nerve by 1, so this is only a dash 14. So really it's a dash 11. Meaning I need 9 wounds to get it to the double 1, and there's no Inspire there, so I might be able to pop through them. Then I take Magua and I walk into our Tackle, which is where my opponent learns that Magua has Duelist, and that's 14 attacks. So yeah, that's a nice one. I am hindered, so it's only 4s and 2s, but still pretty good. And over here on the right, things are a bit messy. He says, which is I take my Luggets, I go into the Clan Lord, and then I set up my Flaget to just kill itself. Because I go, well, it's a double 1 that my opponent has to do to get the Ceremonial Guard into the flank of the Luggets, and I'm willing to tempt it. Just because I burnt this token, I'm like, well, I need the Luggets to get a fantastic turn, and if they don't, this is just another just small piece of assurance that I could get a fantastic turn right there. So anyway, we're going to go for that. And I also have a lot of shooting. So this unit does have 4 damage on it. I believe 4 damage because, the rabble were insane. But I've got 4 damage on them. I think they're 21-23, meaning that they are a 19 right now. And I do have all my artillery. So my artillery could, it's artillery, so it hasn't hit yet. It might hit and just get through them. So we're going to go for that. And then we have the Rabble here going after a Lakilodon. We got to get rid of these things. They're combat monsters, guys. We have to kill them. And then the double Mincer go into this Rhinosaur Cav regiment. Now, this is one of the things I could have easily just taken a troop of Mincers, which is better for the same cost, or I could have brought a regiment, which is like 20 more points, 30 more points, something like that, and also better. But I went, I'm going to bring 2 Mincers because I'm dumb. Actually, it was just an idea, but it's this is one of the reasons why it doesn't really work, because when I deployed it, I wanted the Mincers together, and now they're going to block each other because they are on longer bases. One will have to fall back if I kill this unit to turn to phase. So, and that's a big if, because this is only 12 plus 2d6 attacks. I mean, it's not that big of an if. It's 12 plus 2d6 attacks. This unit has 2 damage on it, so maybe I'll walk through it. So let's see what ends up happening with the shooting phase first, I believe. Nope, we're just going to walk right through the whole thing. So first off, with the shooting phase, I'll go through it. I do manage a rock hit. It does minimal damage, as in it does 1. But I guess that's better than nothing. The grenades all miss. The lightning bolt, I don't think I went for lightning bolt. I went for a Bane Chant, which misses. I go for a Bane Chant here. It misses. I do manage to get some pretty decent damage here. I go for a lick onto the, I try to Sticky Tongue the Phoenix. I get 1 inch, and then I fail to wound, so that sucks. So the shooting, again, is pretty abysmal in this game for the goblins, but in combat we do significantly better. We manage 1 wound with the dogs. Doesn't really matter. These guys, if I'd had the Bane Chant, they would have walked right through this unit, but instead they managed to do, I think, 1 wound. They do take the TC away, so that's really good, but it's not enough to really get that 1 round. Magua does significant damage to our Toggle. I think I do 7 points, like 6 or 7 points of damage. I mean, again, it is 14 attacks on 4s and 2s with Vicious, so I do manage to get a waiver there, which is nice. At least I'm doing something. And off here on the right, yeah, these guys, they have a dog, right, which doesn't do anything, in case you're wondering. And that's what this token is, because I forgot my other tokens. So anyway, I have a dog, it doesn't do anything, and then my attacks, I only hit 7 times, and then I wound, I think, once. I did wound it, right, so it is grounded, but that's, that's not great. These guys are... They do all right. I mean, they're just rabble, so they manage some wounds. They don't really do anything to this. And these guys do really well. They pop right through that regiment, but unfortunately, with how they have to shuffle, so any of them can move, I end up just opening flanks up to units, so they're probably going to be bye-bye. So anyway, let's see how that looks with turn 4, which starts with the Salamanders. So turn 4 Salamanders, we'll start on the left. This is actually the end of turn shot. Things are going a little faster. We have these Tyrants that decide to countercharge into the dogs. It might surprise you, but Salamanders versus dogs, they obliterate them. So they walk right through them and then turn to face. These guys go into my rabble and again don't manage to get the job done. And I wasn't expecting them to, because again, they have like 9 attacks on 3s and 3s. They don't even get a waiver. So I'm ready to rock here. I think these guys are protected. I'm not sure their flank is protected from this unit, though, now that I'm looking at it, because I'm pretty sure I can fit. Maybe we put down a piece and showed that it would hit this, so it doesn't work. But anyway, moving on, I digress. We have a bit of healing going on, and by a bit, I mean 6 points of healing. So this Phoenix is heal 5 and then has Radiance of Life, all those points off our Toggle, so... cool. I think our Tackle's at 1 wound, so I probably did like 7 damage. Pretty cool. That one, that's actually cool. And then in the center, yeah, this is not a double one. Actually, my opponent does roll a 3 there, so, you know, so close. But then, yeah, also walks right through the Luggets, and again, didn't actually need this flank, because this guy just walks right through him anyway. Over here in the Rabble land, the Rabble survive another vicious assault from this Lachilodon, so I guess that's something. I don't have any Inspire, so actually it is a little good, but both the Mincers are gone, because the Tyrants here get to flank charge, and then I didn't even see this Lachilodon had a flank charge, and the Lachilodon flank does it on its own, because Lachilodons are monsters. I just want to reiterate that. Stay away from the Lachilodons. They'll mess you up. So anyway... that's going to be that for the Salamander turn. It's going to be hard to come back with the Goblins, but I don't actually need to win on damage here because I just have so much unit strength. I might be able to claw back a tie or even a win if I take the center. So let's see about it. Actually, it's impossible to, well, it's not impossible to tie, but there are only 3 objectives because my opponent has also been burning them. Maybe we both been smoking the same bowl of screaming children and just making some really cool decisions. There is, I believe, an objective marker under the ceremonial guard, and then there's obviously one over here. So we're really only fighting over the center. So let's see what Goblin turn 4 looks like. So Goblin turn 4, we start off on the left. As you can see, I just take the counter charge here. I take Cuzlo into the rear. Cuzlo had a lot of plays here. I couldn't see the flank, in case you're wondering. They dodged it, but I wanted to apparently lick this Phoenix that did nothing. That was dumb of me. But I do have a rear, so I take that. And I guess it was impossible to get that flank or whatever. Doesn't matter. It must have been impossible. There's no way I wouldn't have taken that. So anyway, I don't get that flank. Then we have Magua and Juice again going into the into our Toggle, hoping to kill it off. I do have this wizard up here, but there's no reason for that, so I walk it back later in my turn a little bit. because I'm just going to go for a balls to the wall, all the shooting into the ceremonial guard, because if I can manage that, I might be able to, with just, all this artillery staring at that objective, I might be able to just force my opponent to put units onto the objective just to be blown up with rocks every turn from now on, right? So I could also win that way. So I'm going to go for that. I do mark them. I'm shooting at them. I think they have... five damage on them now, I think. So anyway, we're going to go for that. And then we have the counter charge here. This is just a... well, I'd love to kill this Lycildon. Oh, that would be big if I got this Lycildon dead. Just because it's a scoring unit, obviously. And if I kill it, I can rearrange myself a bit better to block these units, right? So anyway, we're going to go for that. Let's see what we get, though. And here's the end of turn shot. And it's about what you'd probably expect. First off, over here, yeah, I managed to kill off the 2nd Regiment of Rhinosaurs. Cuzlo pretty much does it on their own. But I do reform to have this unit, so I've got the Tyrants in my front, and then Cuzlo is protected. I expect to lose this unit, but it's not good, but it's not that bad, because I should be able to then take out these Tyrants, because Madfall's the mount. Magua manages to kill off our Tackle, which is great. I tried to back out of the woods. I only rolled 1, so I needed a 3 to get out, so whatever. I cannot be charged by the Phoenix. It can't see me with this line of sight. It might look like it can, but it cannot. I can only be charged by the Clan Lord, which I'm worried about it, but not super worried, because Magua is def 5. So if they want to go in there, it's 15 attacks on 4s, and then 3s to win me, because it's only crush 2. So yeah, it's going to be, like what, 6-7 wins? I'm okay with that. I'm only a 12-14, so maybe I'm not super okay with it, but that's 4+ to hit. That's a low number of dice at a very high variance, so I could very easily survive that and be fine. So I guess it's fine for what it is. But in shooting, yeah, it lets me down again. I think I get 1 hit with like a mop up. So I fire it all into this. I've got the mark. All my grenades miss. Then all this misses. I do nothing. I do no damage to this stupid unit. And I'm just like, sometimes it'd be like that. But I do manage to kill off that Lycildon, so, small victories. I don't overcorrect with this unit, and that is because, yeah, we're going to end the game right here, which I'll explain in a bit. But I probably, had I managed to kill this off, I probably would have gone forward at this point to just force the charge. But, yeah, I don't, because there's no point to it. So yeah, as I said before, this is the end of the game. Partially, here's the Wiz. It moved back a little bit to hide from the Phoenix. But anyway, it's partially because, it's sort of a done state. But I don't actually think it's that bad for the Goblins. I think I could definitely come back and get a win here, or at least a draw. Because again, my opponent just doesn't have the unit strength to really deal with Salt the Earth right now. So all I really need to do is kill off this unit. I need 1 turn of these damn rocks hitting, and I'm good to go. Right now, the only thing that can mess around with my Winged, which is a big piece, big piece right now, is this unit, this Lycildon and this Phoenix. Nothing else can shoot at me. And nothing else can get me in combat because of this horde of rabble. So if I keep this alive and then I get the mark and I get a good turn, right? Like, just please hit, please rocks. And I get that hit, I can obliterate this unit. I can do the exact same thing I just talked about. Or I could even go for this guy up here on the big dinosaur. I could kill that off, right? Like, yeah, there's still a lot of play in the game is really what I'm getting at here. I'm not saying I'm ahead or anything, but I'm not so far behind to make forfeit really a thing I want to do. But as I said before, the kids were getting real antsy at this point. You can see the other table is gone because the game had gone a little long, and trying to manage that babysit and so on. On top of the fact that I think my opponent was going to a farewell party for a friend, just made it so I was like, yeah, we'll just call it here. But still, a really interesting game. I do think this Goblin list probably has some legs to it. If someone were better. Playing at the helm, but it's very fun. I really like the disruption elements in particular. I think they worked really well. Maybe they didn't roll really well, but they're solid. I think they work, right? So anyway, I hope you guys liked it, and until next time, bye.